Welcome to the Beyond the Reef podcast, where I talk to experts and researchers in the reef aquarium hobby, discussing a broad range of topics from corals and reef biology to water chemistry and equipment. We take a deep dive into our guests' methods, techniques, and top reef keeping tips. My name is Adam Sutherland, and I am the owner-operator of Frag Garage Corals, based out of British Columbia, Canada. This podcast is now brought to you by Fauna Marine. I was hesitant to bring on any sponsors, but since I use so many Fauna Marine products, I was really happy to have them collaborate with me. And also, I am now a certified ICP consultant, so if you send in a laboratory ICP test, you can select me as an advisor. Hey folks, welcome to this week's episode. Today I'm talking to Rudy Batara from Golden Basket Corals. And if you have a reef tank in North America, there's a good chance you've got corals that have passed through the hands of Rudy, or at least through his farm in Indo at some point. He's been in this industry for a very long time, really brought a lot of amazing corals into the market. And I thought he would be a great person to talk to about this subject, talking about where our corals come from and some of the challenges importing, just some things from a business perspective, and also things to know as just a hobbyist and a customer as well. I would always appreciate if you would hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. There's definitely not as many people subscribing as there are viewing, so I don't know who's just viewing it and not hitting subscribe, but it's really easy to do it, so you should just do that. Get some comments going in the chat, and feel free to reach out to me. And if you're looking for consultations for your ICP or to troubleshoot a problem with your reef, you can get a consultation through my Patreon at patreon.com/beyondthereefpodcast. And you can either sign up for monthly consultations, or you can just do a one-off and you can just pay through a PayPal at beyondthereefpod@gmail.com. So there's a few options there, but just check out the Patreon. That's probably the best way to start. And if you want to just support us, just share this episode. That's the best zero-cost thing you can do to help us out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Rudy from Golden Basket Corals. All right, man.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So we had a little false start there, but I was asking you for a little breakdown of how you started in this industry. So yeah, just go again for me.
No problem. Yeah, I grew up in Indonesia. So from early age, I already exposed to the industry itself. So I've been breeding beta, live bearers, goldfish, and a lot of freshwater fish. And then I'm selling it to the vendors at that time. And also it happens to be that the area where I grew up, there is a few tropical fish exporters, both the marine and the freshwater. So I've been exposed to that from the early age. And then it's a hobby of mine too, So because of that, then, at the age of 20, I came to the United States. I finished my degree at Portland State, and then I opened up a wholesale.
What was your degree in?
At the time. So I have a degree in finance law.
Okay.
And and then I got my MBA also from Portland State. And then I opened up a tropical fish, and then but 6 months later, I added on saltwater fish and corals to my operations.
So what year about would this have been that you started doing some saltwater?
I started late 1986.
Wow. Okay. So that's really old school.
Yeah. 1986. I think it's around November 1986, and then by 1987, so early 1987, I already add on the sour fish and coral.
Yeah.
And then at that time, there's no CITES.
Yeah.
So we can freely import any coral, but of course the price is really cheap too.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything is $1.50.
Yeah. So for people, I guess maybe because we're going to get in and talk about the importing, but CITES is something that is absolutely required for especially anything that is on the not endangered species, but it's on protected species, right? Is that kind of what encompasses within CITES?
It's encompass everything, including the protected, the endangered, and then the one that allowed for trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all managed by CITES convention.
Yeah.
And then the countries that the parties of the CITES usually they have to follow the regulation how they set up quotas for live animals and all that. There is a set of guidelines they have to go through.
Yeah. So back then it was just kind of a free for all. There just wasn't
Yep,
really,
yep.
yeah. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I imagine there's some animals that would be illegal to just ship from certain
yeah,
countries,
yeah.
but
I think around 88 or 89 where CITES start to
yeah,
uh, to be required when you import corals.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine. I started in the reef hobby around 2000 or 2001, and it was pretty limited for corals back then. I mean, we were starting to see, I think, a bit of mariculture then and stuff like that. So, sometimes some of the coral selection was getting a little bit better. But, what do you think was the turning point for when, corals started becoming easier to keep and, it really became like more of an accessible thing? Because going back to the mid 80s was probably mostly just people keeping fish tanks, right?
Yeah, I think it's with coral, it's just the way where they collected.
Yeah.
You know, early when the early in the trades, people collecting those from just tide pools, all the shallow waters, probably 3 meters and up,
Hmm.
pretty much. So the corals that you get at that level, it's actually it's pretty specific on what the requirements will be.
Hmm.
That's why when you get it in your tanks, it will be very difficult to keep them,
Yeah.
especially the Katropora and all that. You cannot provide the correct environments and then all the wave and everything at that level of depth.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why. And then later on, the trade itself in Indonesia, they learn and then they're getting better. They're going deeper and deeper. So that's when they found it's a lot more stable corals at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they are able to do a better husbandry also. They clean the corals, they fold them before they're shipping it, before they're collecting. Probably between collection and then shipping, it's only about 2 or 3 days. It's only being shipped. But
Yeah. Yeah.
now they are able to hold it, so it's a lot better stable corals when they ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then people when receiving it here also, it's a lot better held.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that's the turning point. It's because of the habits of the collector itself too.
Yeah, so the holding facilities that are holding these corals before they ship out, they're essentially like they're just better. They have better keeping methods now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, we'll get into your farms a little bit, but you probably do a little bit of aquaculture in your farms too, I would imagine, for some higher end items and stuff like that.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. We start the Mariculture in 1998.
Hmm.
Actually, the first one that's doing it is Bali Aquarium.
Yeah.
They are the pioneers. Yeah, and then Bali Aquarium done it for about a year, and then Vincent came in at that time
Yeah.
as the representative from Ambler, from the
Yeah.
France.
So
So he
Vincent
started doing,
Chalias, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he started doing Mariculture also in Lombok Island,
Hmm.
and then in I think working together with Dinar at that time. So he started doing that, and then he went to work with the Bali Aquarium, and then he just stuck there
Hmm.
until now.
Yeah.
So that's from that point also in around late 2000, Indonesian governments already informing us that Indonesia is going to go into mariculture 100%. So they're
Yeah.
going to transition slowly at that point. So they want us to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
at that point, we just decided we want to go full 100% mariculture. So we abandoned our wild corals quota, and then we're not pursuing it
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was in my notes. I just wanted to kind of lay out for people that don't, realize where the different avenues of where our corals come from. Mariculture is essentially setting up these vats to kind of grow, corals from your broodstock colonies in the ocean, and then that stuff is collected and brought back. That's kind of a
yeah.
good summary of mariculture. Is there anything you would add to that?
Mariculture, there is two type of maricultures.
Yeah.
The one that you grow in the ocean, and then the one that grows in the tank itself.
Okay, because
So
I would
in
always call
situ,
that aquaculture, like whereas the mariculture is the
well,
marine farm
yeah,
culture, but I don't know.
in Indonesia they call it in situ
Okay, yeah,
mariculture.
yeah, yeah,
So in situ is in
yeah. In
in the tank itself,
situation, I
yeah.
guess that's
And
basically,
then
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that's it. It's kind of an argument also. If you're trying to be truly, Mariculture, you have to be, doing it in the ocean.
Yeah.
But still, the Indonesian government, the scientific authority, accepting it that you can grow in your tank if you can show growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
yeah.
can prove, so is that something that might change, that might make some exporting a little bit easier if you can show that you're generating essentially homegrown corals as opposed to ones coming out of the ocean? Like, would that help the
Uh,
process in any way in the future?
Uh, the problem is the as corals in general is highly regulated commodity.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how you grow it. If you grow it at home or you grow it in the ocean, it's still you need CITES
You
permit.
still need one CITES per one coral. So even if
Yep,
it's a half inch, quarter inch little tiny frag or a
yep,
huge
yep.
colony of Acropora, it's still one Acropora.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Just one Acropora.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you kind of put a few Acropora in there in one dish, and then call it one CITES permit.
Hmm.
They won't allow that.
Yeah.
They count as individual heads
Yeah.
in there. But certain things, like the soft corals and all that, as long as you are within 2 centimeters square, they, they are okay
Yeah.
with that. You don't need a CITES permit
Yeah.
only on the soft corals.
And I guess the other
Yeah.
component to that is as long as they don't have any live rock attached to them too, right? I think that was the other thing I heard.
Uh, the live rock is only United States,
Okay.
the one that
Okay.
that see CITES they have a general rules, and then countries that belong to CITES they have their own interpretations how they want to implement it. For example, like Japan or UK, if you want to export over there, you need to get CITES approval. What it is that the CITES paper that you have, you need to send it to them,
Hmm.
and then they need to approve it first. The management authority in Japan, UK need to approve it before you can do actual export.
Hmm.
So there's another steps doing it.
Yeah. So
As
is
opposed
that
in the United States,
generally the
they do not do that. And
is that generally the fish and wildlife side of things for each country? Because they'll have like their own. That's the
no,
there's the
we
export side is the CITES, and then the import side is what your country's regulations are too, right?
Yeah, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, for example, any U.S. Fish and Wildlife, it's a governing that is a that what you call it exercising the law.
Hmm.
They're applying the law for all the imports coming in. But the one that regulates CITES, quotas, and CITES is pretty much scientific authority and management authority in the country itself.
Hmm.
For example, like in Indonesia, the scientific authority, they went out and then do studies on how the coral grows and then how much they grow and then how is this area population is. So they assign a collecting area based on that scientific study.
Yeah.
Okay, from that they decide on how many pieces of corals they can have in a year.
Yeah.
We call it quotas. From quotas, then the quotas will be managed by management authority. They are the one that will issue CITES permit.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's in every country that belongs to CITES will be the same. The
Yeah.
same for any animals. For snakes, the same. For reptiles, and then
Yeah.
the same. For birds, it's just the same.
Yeah. Well, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Do you think that when they test and measure for the quota, they do a good job of thoroughly checking enough areas to really assess the because obviously, like, yeah, if it was just a free for all for quota numbers, like, we'd see a lot more torches on CITES and everybody would want the torches or certain species, right? So I guess it does
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
things kind of in line. But do you think that the quota gauging, they're doing a good job on it in most
yeah,
countries?
yes.
Yeah.
For example, it's just when you see the countries when they issue quotas, they're all the same number. Then you know that is not based on scientific
Mm-hmm.
study.
Mm-hmm.
That is just based on random numbers.
Yeah.
So this is what happened before when there's a country that it's being banned, that they're not allowing for export. It's just because of the situation, not because of their fault, but it's just the situation. So we will get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But first, that. But when you see a quotas from a country that all different species, different numbers, then you know. there's a reason behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They
with
put some
in
thought
the
into
case,
it. They put some work
yeah,
into it. Yeah.
in the case of Indonesia, they they put out a quota based on the growth of each species,
Yeah.
how much they can grow in a year, how much population they can have, and then so they establish a harvest quota in
Hmm.
a way.
Yeah.
But still, the quota itself, when you harvest it, there's still some die. That means there's still over harvest
Yeah.
because the quota itself is it's everything that get into the exporter's facility and then they can export it.
Yeah.
Anything that died when the collection that doesn't count.
Hmm. Hmm. I see.
So
Yeah.
there is still a handicap in regards to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I guess
and
that well, an important distinction is also like the wild versus the mariculture, because I assume most mariculture is being grown from broodstock that is documented
yeah,
broodstock colonies. However, like I'm sure there's some corruption in the industry, and some farms are maybe collecting wild and then putting them on bases and calling them mariculture. Like I'm sure that happens
yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
That there is two aspects of that. Okay, one, it's because the way there is so many overlapping regulations, there is a confusion. And then second, the buyer from overseas teaching them the wrong way of doing things.
Hmm.
Just do shortcuts. Do this and then you just ship it out. Just slap a base and everything.
Yeah.
It's the bad influence. It's there too. Okay, but the regulation itself, Indonesia, it's really strict as far as the mariculture regulations.
Hmm.
I think in the world, Indonesia is the pioneers as far as the establishing a regulations for the maricultures.
Yeah.
So the government loan you a broodstock. We call it the F1, and then from there you can make a cuttings to make your populations.
Yeah.
And then yeah, every year the governments from the scientific authority, and then now there are several subdivisions under the scientific authority. They are the one that do physical dive and then count how many you grow,
Yeah.
and then how many that you have ready for harvest. Based on that number, they give you quotas
Okay. So they
to
kind of
export.
roughly know what your farm is able to
Yes,
generate, essentially.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you just grow and then you just plant it, for example, and then tell them, okay, that is part of the one that's ready for export, they will reject it
Mm.
because they knew that there is no growth showing at all.
Hmm.
And then also at the airport, they do check it randomly,
Yeah.
only for mariculture, not for wild coral.
But do you think the people at the airport can tell the difference between different Acropora species, or you know what I mean? Would they
They
look
do,
that
yeah.
deeply? Yeah.
The inspector itself, they all people that experience
Hmm. Hmm.
already, so they know because that's what their day to day jobs.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also they talk with a lot of farmers and all that, so they
Yeah.
know.
And they could also go to
Yeah,
the Bali Aquarium website, and there's every species and picture of each species actually on that site. So that would give them an idea too.
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So I mean that brings another question I had up here as far as broodstock. Like I've found that just speaking for say Acropora in general, like I
mhm.
don't see a lot of new variants coming on. Is that sort of because there's challenges with getting new broodstock and getting the documentation to actually have
No,
a new
I
pool
think
of corals?
if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, we have 5 years. After 5 years, we are allowed to return that back where we're collecting it, and then we can replace the broodstock.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to get a variety, we can do that. And then also after 5 years, you already have established the population anyway.
Yeah.
from that one broodstock.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they do require you to put the broodstock back, or at least some
Back,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, but you could
You know when
essentially, yeah.
yeah, the requirement is that you have to give them all the coordinates where you're collecting from.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So
Hmm.
collecting, like I know, is it Banyuwangi? Is that one of the areas in eastern uh uh in where am I saying
In
the name
Eastern
right?
Java.
Yeah, in Java.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Banyuwangi is Eastern Java.
I think someone was telling me that's where a lot of the really nice Acropora comes from, is that kind of region.
It happens that all like the jobbers and then the collectors, they all pull right there in Banyuwangi.
Hmm.
And then from there, that's where all the exporters they do their buying from in that area,
Okay.
or they have their own people already that go pick out some corals to ship to Jakarta to all the exporters there, or to ship to Bali
Hmm.
for all the exporters. And then also that Straits of Bali on the Java side or on the Bali side, both are all the maricultures right there. That's
Yeah.
the mariculture center.
Yeah.
And then there is another island that close to Bali itself, Sarangan Island. That's also another grow up for maricultures
Okay. Yeah.
in that island. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I should maybe show a little map or something while we're talking about this. But so yeah, Banyuwangi's kind of more in the east, the sort of southeast sort of side of Java,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then
So
is it
the
up sort of between Bali and Java, up a bit more north? Is that more where your Euwphyllia is kind of grown and collected?
Euwphyllia, it's there is some collected around the uh, eastern more east than Lombok,
Hmm.
maybe in the Sumbawa Islands also in there.
Okay.
And then there's a lot more. It's from Madura Island. So there's a lot more smaller islands there in Madura that you get a lot of the Euwphyllia.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So, kind of,
So
what are some of the depths of some, like, a lot of Euwphyllia are collected at? Because, like, from my experience, I've done a bit of diving and snorkeling in Bali, but I saw like a few torch coral type, things, but not like a big field of it. Like, what kind of depths
yeah,
would you see fields of
yeah,
Euwphyllia?
Euwphyllia, I would say it's about probably 30, 40 feet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say 10 meters
Yeah.
roughly.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 to 15 meters.
Yeah.
That's the area of the Euwphyllia. And then you got your lobo, your chalices. You go a little bit deeper.
Hmm.
You going into the like a 20-meter deep.
Yeah.
Then when some of the chalices, it's they are in the 30
Wow.
meters.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
that's like a
it's
hundred
90
feet.
to
Yeah.
100. Yep, yep.
Wow.
And then these people they've been living in the ocean. So even with the hookah, uh, they can just stay there for about 2 hours.
Wow. Okay. Because I was gonna
Yeah,
say, the deeper collecting plus the farming of some of these corals at a little deeper depths is a little more cost involved and maybe like a little more
yeah,
risk.
yeah,
But if they're on the hookah line, you said they don't
yeah.
dive with tanks. Yeah.
No, they don't. And then also, uh, once a month they go to a vacuum chambers. It's automatically.
Hmm.
It's already part of the regulations.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have to treat them that way.
Yeah.
So for their health, once a month they do check up and they go to the vacuum chambers just
Okay.
to regulate all their uh, pressures.
Yeah.
Yeah, for their
Okay.
blood. Yeah,
Interesting.
and
Yeah.
then yeah, and then with us with the scuba, we can only stay underneath there for about 10, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
That's the difference between they can stay there longer and then you can only stay 10 or 15 minutes with the scuba.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, 100 meters is gonna, yeah, definitely decrease your
Not
time
100
because
meters, 100
yeah,
feet.
or 100 feet. Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah,
30
100
meters
feet.
is still.
Yeah.
I remember because when I did my advanced diving course, I remember we had to hit 30, and just looking at my NDL time, the amount of time I had to stay down, I was like, oh, I only have like 17 minutes down here or something like that.
Yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
way down
Yeah.
versus a
Yeah.
shallower dive where you get
Yeah.
45 to an
It
hour.
takes
Yeah.
time to come down and it takes time to come out.
Hmm.
That's what your most of the time you spend there. It's just between the traveling.
Yeah.
Just 30 meters traveling is quite far
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
diving.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, so
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is but this is more talking about collecting. If you're farming some of these corals,
yeah,
like you can farm them at a little shallower depths for easier access, but I imagine they still need to be quite a bit deeper than your
yeah.
Acropora farming.
They, still the same because if you grow them in the shallow waters, they will
Yeah.
bleach.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of them will bleach
Yeah.
because they're already used to with with low light, and then you bring it up. That's the problem. So pretty much the same thing when they grow them. Then some is in 10 meters and down.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's one area in northern Bali that you can see, you know, the the way they lay out the mariculture bed is gradually just keeping down
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
deeper levels. Yeah,
Hmm.
and then they put different species in its level.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And I guess
Yeah,
maybe some of the higher end chalices, you would be more likely to culture those in your facility where you have complete control of, like some of those lower light, higher end corals. Maybe you're more likely to do them in situ.
yeah. I think there is not enough big enough facility in Indonesia that can grow, really corals in situ.
Yeah.
So I think it's only right now. It's the biggest farms that I know of is Golden Merino, and then they are capable of doing it because they have so many tanks.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for it to do, but most of the exporters they grow it in the ocean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then yeah, it's less hassle for them than growing in the facility.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, also lower cost and whatnot. But
Yeah, yeah. The biggest expensive is the electricity.
yeah, for sure, especially in
Yeah.
some of those countries. And yeah, I mean, I guess a thought I just had based on if you have like a collection of some higher end stuff, do you have problems with theft from your farms? Because I've heard about this a little bit, especially in certain regions, that there could be theft from other farms or other people
Uh,
collecting. Has
yeah.
it?
Generally, no,
Yeah,
because all the people that grows corals they know each other,
yeah,
and then they and then the area it's difficult for outsiders to come into that area and then try to mess around.
yeah.
So there's possibilities there, but we hardly heard anything at all. Maybe just people talking,
Yeah, I
pretty
think
much.
so. I mean, I've been to
Yeah,
Bali. I've been to Bali twice. I haven't been to Java, but my experience with the people there is like a strong belief in karma and treating each other well. And what goes
yeah,
around comes
yeah,
around. So don't,
yeah.
don't steal corals. Yeah.
And then
Okay.
sometimes also, oh, I got an exclusive collecting area.
Yeah.
There's no such things.
Yeah.
Once you're collecting in certain area and then coming to the market, all the collectors will go there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's hard to be really secretive. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because I guess it's like if you find like an area that's got, like banana torches or tiger torches or some of those higher end Euwphyllia, like there's probably small little pockets where you find more of it, but it's probably like pretty hard to
yeah,
come
yeah.
by.
That's why for people that for the exporters, I think it's, some of them we do survey certain area,
Yeah,
new area and all that, and then we request to the governments if we can collect over there.
yeah,
So if we get approval, then of course we get some new corals.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So what is
and
gonna
then
happen coming up when wild collection sort of gets phased out, I guess? Is this going to be kind of over the next couple years or up to the next 5 years or sooner?
yeah. See, in the past there is no law, but now
Yeah.
the law is already enacted. It's already going for second year now.
Hmm.
There, so the law it says there is no trades of wild corals. It's already enacted, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
for them to change it, there needs to be a legislation process,
Yeah.
and then that takes a long time. So it is said that they said that 2025 they will not issue the quotas, but AKI, the Association for the Wild Corals, exporters still trying to get it. If they can continue their trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I guess,
but
because there's certain
yeah,
corals
but
that just don't seem to have, there isn't a mariculture version of a lot of these, like Welsophilia, Trachiophilias,
yeah, there is a reason of that. For that not being able to maricultures because they are solitary, and then they are slow growth.
Yeah.
And then these corals is actually not favorable for trades at all, because you actually harvesting even the smaller like Trachophilia, those are 20, 30 years in age.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they are not growing like the Acropora or the some other reef
Yeah.
builders species. These are solitary corals like the Acanthophilia,
Hmm.
Cinarina,
Yeah.
that you can find only a patch of them in certain area.
Yeah. Yeah. So you,
So
you think it's better to leave those corals alone, probably for the most part, anyways. Keep them off of the
I
wild
would say
collection. Yeah.
that is the one that's good for the in situ breeding.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, uh, you know, actually, some of the university in Makassar, where all these corals coming from, the they already do a lot of studies for many many years. They
Yeah.
grow clams, and then they grow, I think, Katropora, and then they did do study on Acantophilia also.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And Australia's had some good success with Canthophilia, scolles,
yeah, yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
A
So,
lot, of the Australian scientists they go there,
yeah.
and then they work. They study together there, and then they come back home to Australia, and then
Yeah.
they improve on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It does
So
feel like there's a good amount of communication between people that are in that industry, especially with the stuff Jamie Craggs is doing with his coral spawning labs.
yeah, yeah,
People can essentially just buy that lab and start breeding corals, which is pretty cool. Yeah. If you got the
yeah,
money
yeah,
for it or the funding. Yeah.
yeah. In Indonesia itself, you can just collect eggs.
Yeah.
You can collect eggs when they spawn. You can collect them,
Yeah.
but you don't know which one
Yeah.
because they float to the top,
Yeah.
and then when they spawn, you can see because it's mass spawning.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
see the surface. There's full of eggs,
Yeah.
so you can harvest them and then you can try to grow it, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of fun though. A little
Yeah,
little
yeah,
surprise. What are you gonna get if you can
yeah,
raise it?
yeah. So yeah, a few people already tried there,
Yeah.
doing that, and then they got all different kind of species
Ah, interesting.
from there. Yeah, in Indonesia, it just happened to be the location itself. It's right where 60% of the world species right there in the Indonesian water.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's vast, diverse
Yeah.
area. Yeah,
Well,
and then we have like probably more than 30 excuse me, more than 30,000 islands. Indonesia is comprised of more than 30,000 islands, and then each island they have reef around it.
yeah.
Yeah, and some, of course, because of the population, there's a lot of population, then the reef will be degraded
Yeah.
for sure. And then there is still bomb fishing and all that. That's the one that also destroys the reef. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you go dive, the Bali is pretty much you won't hear it much, but when you go to further away area, when you dive, you can hear them.
Hmm. And is this for
Going up.
commercial fishing more, or is it for like
Local.
ornamental fish?
It's for local food fish.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
that's too bad.
And then yeah, it's the governments and also the NGOs and then the industry, the trade also try to help them make them understand. But this is their know-how already
Yeah.
for generation, and then it's sometimes difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So you probably have seen reefs that have been pretty destructed by some of this
Oh yeah, yeah,
bombing. It's probably pretty sad. Yeah.
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 You can you don't have to go far. You can go to Lombok certain area.
Hmm.
You can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's just rubble.
Yeah, so it's not just like fragging corals. It's a little worse than that. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know storms can create frags and actually sort of actually improve a reef after a storm sometimes because of just, sometimes the subtle bits of damage and acroporas breaking and stuff can actually regrow um, from a certain point. But I imagine these bombing areas is just turning
yeah.
everything over
And
and
then
yeah.
when you dive, if it happens to be too close to them, when it blows up, it hurts your ears.
Yeah.
You can hear. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
we
crazy.
try to stay away, from that area.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny if there's any sort of criticism coming from people that are ignorant or don't have much knowledge of the reef aquarium hobby, and they'll say things like, "Oh, you're taking these fish from the wild, or you're taking these corals. Aren't corals endangered?"
Yep.
It's like there's much worse things happening in the ocean right next
Yeah.
door to
Yeah.
where we're
Oh,
growing these corals. Like
yeah.
we're if anything, I think the reef hobby inspires people. I think makes young people appreciate, nature more, appreciate living things. I think it's the inspiration that you get from reef aquariums like has way more of a pro than it has a con in any way.
Yeah. The life coral threads become an scapegoat for all those,
Yeah.
nothing related to the industry itself. We try to collect coral so we can have it alive.
Yeah.
Other people, they try to kill the corals to get a fish.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
It's totally the opposite. It's totally the opposite of what we're doing. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's funny because it's so regulated for you to say even just get new broodstock to collect, but someone with one little strike of bombing an area for fish collection could do massive
Yeah.
amounts of damage. Compared to taking a couple of colonies that, you know, it's so negligible, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes, I hear people ask me, you collect this from the wild, you know, and then how come there's no more? You can go back there and then collect anymore. Well, sometimes that area is closed. We cannot collect it anymore because they only give us a year to collect that area. Maybe we have to wait until the next rotation. Several years later, we can go back. And then another thing might be, people looking for food fish in there, and then that area is already decimated. We
hmm
have to wait until the reef come back, and then all the populations come back too.
yeah.
But in Indonesia, it's like you know the way the reef they come back, it's really fast too.
It is fast. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I have actually like a firsthand example because I went to it was Nusa Lembongan, and the sort of
yep,
mangrove side of that where there's the reef just off the
yep,
mangrove. It
hmm,
was there in 2018, and there was a lot of bleaching, and the reef wasn't super healthy there. And then we
yep,
went back. I think it was maybe 5 years later, and they had turned it into sort of a reserve where farmers could farm seaweed there. But we went and
yep,
dove the reef there, and it was incredibly healthy. And this was, I think,
yeah.
four or 5 years later.
Yeah. You go to the southern part where you just cross with ferry from
Yeah,
Nusa Dua.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the southern part is that way, but if you go to the northern part,
yeah,
that is a nicer area.
yeah, yeah. Oh, this was the
Yeah,
northern part.
and
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. We've been to the
yeah,
southern part too, but this was the
yeah,
northern part of Lombok. Or
and then that area is not allowed for the. I mean, it's difficult to get a permit for you to grow corals there.
yeah,
It's an island that pretty much all the native tradition still strong there.
mhm.
So the head of the village is the president
Yeah.
in that island. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's still the culture is very strong in Nusa Lembongan.
hmm Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible
Yeah.
to see how fast a reef recovers. It gives you a little bit of hope, because I saw a lot of bleached acropora in that area. And I
Yeah.
think
Every year.
seasonally it probably happens and it comes up, goes down. You probably see it
Yeah.
all the time, right?
Yeah. It's every year. It's just a certain area will get bleached, but by the following years they already come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely a hopeful thing to think about because,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's an assumption that the reefs, especially in Australia too, are just constantly getting worse and it's only getting worse, but it fluctuates, right? We've had some good
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
lately. So Yeah, not to encourage anyone to not stop caring about climate change and the things that we do that probably
True,
contribute.
true.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Some years are worse, and then takes longer to grow back. But some years the bleaching is not worse, so they can recover a lot faster.
yeah,
So just depending on what bleaching situation happening
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, talk about some other things to do with importing. So, we talked about the CITES regulations a little bit, and that's kind of like, I guess maybe just like for someone who has like a small business that's doing corals, say in the States or something. What's the best way for them to get corals if they want to import them? Because one thing I think a lot of people probably don't understand right away is most suppliers to get you a CITES in the first place are going to have an order minimum, right? So it's probably going to be
Yes.
like 100 kilos or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. The kilo wise is because of the airlines. If
Yeah,
you have that 100 kilo, it's very difficult to make a booking with the airlines. And then also the less you have it, and the less priority you will get with the airline. So you have to wait probably until they approve a booking
yeah,
for your shipment. And then 100 kilo, it's pretty much about 5, 6 boxes,
yeah,
I would say. Yeah. Or even less if they pack 25 kilo per box
yeah,
that way. And then 4 boxes itself, you're looking at about 60, 80 pieces.
yeah,
So for you that only have one tank, it's kind of difficult to put new coral 60 to 80 pieces
yeah,
in one tank.
yeah,
So the first thing to do is make sure that you have the facility to hold these new corals. You need to house them, you need to quarantine them, and then you need to dip them. So a lot more works than what it seems.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I think,
Yeah.
for a smaller business, like for me personally, I'm more likely to want to go to a wholesaler that's brought in corals and sort of pick from there because, a good
Yeah.
wholesaler is going to have dipped a lot of stuff on the way in, and they can do a bigger order at a time versus, I'm not at a point where I would get my own CITES and do my own importing. I'd just rather work with a group of
Yeah. Yeah.
people that are bringing it in. But I think there's a bit of a misconception for people that are maybe newer in the industry that want to just go straight to the source. It's like it's not as easy as you would think.
Yeah.
you know
And then
yeah,
also it's not cheaper as you
no,
think,
no,
because the freight alone for 100 kilo freight and then for 1,000 kilo freight, there's two different rates. They are far apart,
yeah,
probably. You know, and
totally,
then another thing, when you import it, for example, like to United States, minimum, I think per shipment it costs you $1,000
yeah,
for the custom broker, for the customs, and U.S. Western
yeah.
Wildlife.
And the CITES is
It's
like a flat
roughly,
rate too. The CITES, there's the CITES, and then
yeah.
there's
No,
per
no, just
piece. Yeah,
I'm talking about
yeah,
what the cost in the country where imported
okay,
itself.
yeah,
It's about $1,000.
yeah,
So if you bring in 4 boxes, that means $250 already per box.
yeah, yeah, crazy, yeah,
Okay, and then so when you bring in yourself, that's why I'm saying it might not end up more expensive for you
mm,
than just going buy from wholesaler.
yeah,
But if you can buy 10 boxes at a time, then your cost will be $100 per box.
yeah,
Then it will be more manageable that way. $100 per box, then you got probably $10 per corals in the box itself.
yeah,
Then it would be more manageable. But again, 10 boxes, you get 200 corals. So
hmm,
you have to have a
yeah,
facility to house them.
totally,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, do you have a wholesale facility? You're in LA, right? Or are you somewhere in California?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, you're in Oregon. Okay.
I,
So,
yeah,
do you do
I'm in the
wholesale?
Pacific
Do you do
Northwest.
wholesale?
I have a facility before. I have
Hmm.
close to 12,000 gallons
Yeah. Wow.
facility, yeah, 5,000 square feet. But 2 years ago, I closed it, and then I'm semi-retired right now.
Well,
And
that's nice.
then I have a small shop at home, it's about 23 by 10.
Hmm.
And then I just have 4 raceways,
Yeah.
3 by 8. I
Yeah.
have 4 of them. Yeah. I divided, one for the FPS and so on, and one for the SPS.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I used to wholesale and I used transship. A lot of I supply a lot of the transshipper and wholesalers in LA, that do transship.
Yeah.
So it's actually when they order, people know that they get the shipment direct from Indonesia, but actually from a facility in
Yeah.
Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was when you had the big facility. Okay. So now,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for Golden Basket now, like people can go to your website and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just
I
selling
have
your
a
own.
website.
Yeah. And I imagine like, having, these farms that you are a part of and connected to, you've got pretty good selection of what you can get. Probably as good a
Yeah.
selection as anybody can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hardly import myself.
Yeah.
So all the customers we just ship direct to their destinations, L.A., New York, or Dallas,
Hmm.
DFW. So just whatever destination. We used to pull the shipments to Los Angeles, and then we transship, and then we break it apart, and then we ship it to them. But I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only ship to direct customers that can buy enough uh, themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
makes
then,
sense.
yeah, my time's pretty much been several years just growing corals.
Yeah. Yeah. And you go to a lot
Yeah,
of shows too, from
it's
the
just
looks
my
of
hobby.
things.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
go to shows. Yeah,
Nice.
meet
Yeah.
with friends and all that, and especially meet with my customers before I completely retired
Hmm.
because I want to meet with every single my customers and
Yeah.
then know the person. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah. One of the things I noticed, I think you're kind of known for being a big Zoa guy. Like you probably have brought in some of the nicer zoanthids I've seen. Like acquiring some of that stuff. Like I guess it's just from years and years of you and your team over in Indo collecting and finding nice varieties. Like how do you kind of
yeah.
come across a lot of
It,
these unique pieces?
it's pretty much like I mentioned it before. We do a research. We
Yeah.
go to a certain area and that hasn't been collected yet. So we see what's in there, and then if it's profitable, then we request the government that we allowed to collect over there. That is the time when we get a lot of the new corals,
Hmm.
and then that situation is getting more and more difficult to do because there is a limited collecting area now that you can do, and then they are not allowing any more additional new area. So that's why you haven't seen a lot of the new corals coming in from Indonesia
Yeah. Okay, that makes
lately.
sense. Yeah, because
I think it's just
yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, it happens to be that the times that we were there, and then we collect that, like the Krakatoa and all that. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then later on, we find out, like for example, Krakatoa, we cannot grow them at all. Also, as soon as they spit out babies, both mother and then the baby, they die.
They do tend
We
to
don't know
melt
why.
easily. Yeah.
Yep. But this is particularly true for Krakatoa. Nobody
Yeah.
able to grow them. As soon as they just spit out babies, they will melt.
Are you talking in our tank situations or
Yep.
in a farm
Yep. In
situation? Yeah.
in a tank situation. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the original Krakatoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The GMK and all that, you can grow them without any problem.
Okay. And you're not talking
Yeah.
the speckled cracks. You're talking just because I don't know if I know
No.
the OG cracks. No.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one that I released
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the Krakatoa, the
Yeah.
OG Krakatoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why we don't see it around much then. It just has
Yeah.
not persisted in the hobby. That's too bad. But yeah, so as far as getting we were talking about how some of the soft corals don't require CITES. Like would I be able to get zoas from the States? Like I know there are some people that are able to bring them as long because they don't require the CITES.
Yeah. So this is the steps that also a lot of people misunderstood. So no CITES, it doesn't mean that you can ship freely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So even without CITES, when you want to export to Canada, for example, ship to Canada is considered export. When you want to export to Canada, you have to declare.
Yeah.
You have to do a proper channels. Like, even though that is your personal goods, you have to do declarations to customs and to U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Okay? They check your shipment, and then your shipment can go. That's why it's very difficult if you're doing it with FedEx or UPS. So most of the exports done by the airlines because U.S. Fish and Wildlife or Customs can go there and then check the shipment before they go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people thinking that, no CITES, I can just ship it, whatever. No,
No,
it's
not
not.
that easy.
Yeah. So then we come up to the constraint of cost. So for us to export, it costs the same. It's $900 to $1,000
Yeah.
per shipment. Even when shipping one ZOA, it costs you $1,000
Yeah.
for all this process. The custom broker, the custom, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife declarations and then inspection. They all cost the same.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to bring it in enough, it's probably worthwhile of doing it. But if it's not enough, then
Yeah.
it's very difficult. That's why I ship to Japan from here, and then I ship to Australia.
Yeah.
And a lot of them without CITES, but we declare
Yeah. Okay.
properly. Yeah.
Yeah, because anything coming from a country to a country is gonna go through customs, and it's kind of a red flag if it's like, oh, these are some live corals. Like that's immediately any customs agent, even if they know very little about it, it's gonna be a red flag. So it's gonna have to get looked into.
I got that. Yeah, I got a lot of inquiries from Canada, from UK. Oh, you can just ship it with UPS. We receive, shipment from UPS. Well, that's the wrong way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and at your point in your career and with your experience, you're just not willing to take any chances either. Like, why would you, right? It's just not worth it for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the people doesn't realize that corals, live coral business, live coral itself is highly regulated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even when something that you grow, it's still in the same there's same governing law, Lacey Act, for United States.
Yeah. It's a lot. And I mean, for me as sort of a niche business that, I farm coral, it's a home-based business. I ship quite a bit. If it was easier for corals to get between Canada and the US, for example, I would have to compete with, Top Shelf Aquatics, Worldwide Corals, all the major players. At least I'm in a smaller pond over here, so I have a little less competition. So, I'm kind of rather it stay the way it is. I just wish I could get a few more corals from the States. That would be nice to, inject some of the best stuff from over here at some point. Yeah.
I think if you, that's why, if you have enough, you think that $1,000, cost, it's okay, then you probably bring enough for you to increase your varieties.
Yeah, totally. No, I think that's the plan. And I am in the works of talking to some people to get this to happen, but it would be really nice to get a big order of, just all the really great corals. And it's cool just for the sake of, the corals in general. It's like it's another stage of them being propagated and surviving. It's a very weird way for an animal to persist in the world,
True.
Via fragmentation in these reef aquariums. But yeah. What are some things that you are kind of most excited for in the hobby these days? Like as far as what are some of your favorite corals, or what keeps you kind of wanting to do this? Because you've been doing this since you were a kid, basically raising fish. Yeah. So you're obviously still passionate about it.
Yeah, I think in general the way the coral grows, it doesn't matter what it is. It just intrigues me.
Yeah.
It what makes the passion of doing it. And I don't know, it's hard to say, but I don't have any specific, corals that I like or, it's my favorite. But I think you understand what I'm saying. Sometimes when you look at your tanks, certain corals will be vibrant.
Yeah.
I don't know, something in the waters that make them that way. And at one certain point, it'll be that way. And you say, wow, I never seen colors like that.
Yeah.
So that's what interests me, knowing what makes it that way.
Yeah.
And then even you go to the show, the same corals is so vibrant in one vendors and then blah in another vendor.
Yeah. What are you doing differently, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing differently?
Yeah.
But for me, I know that for example, Katropora. If you keep it long enough, it doesn't matter what kind of Katropora, they will be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is my
Certain
experience.
ones. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So,
Totally.
when you get it, it probably there's no potential. But if you keep them and then let them grow and flourish, that what surprise you
Yeah.
at that time. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what interesting with the hobby.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I think actually that makes me remember. I don't know if it was Jake or if it was Than that said something like, "What people ask me what my favorite coral is, and I say, whatever looks the best right now. Whatever is at its absolute best because it's always changing, right? But your tank's always changing, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. I try to not
You
jinx
you
it though. I had a little while back, this might have been 6 months ago. I was just, admiring my Tyree pink lemonade and I was like, this is just growing so well right now. The color is so good. And my friend asked me, what's your favorite coral right now? And I said, oh, the pink lemonade. And the next day, one of my mini colonies is just a white skeleton. I
you want
swear
to
I
know?
jinxed it.
Pink lemonade is one of the corals that I cannot grow.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it's always RTN on me.
Well, interestingly
So
enough, I put a piece of this one colony that I had one large colony and two small, and the second small one was starting to go. So I put it in a second system, and I treated that system with chemiclean. And the next day, that coral was fine. And then I noticed the big colony in the main system starting to go, and I treated the main system with chemiclean. All the coral lived from that point on, all the pink lemonade. I'm not a
yeah,
huge advocate of using an antibiotic if you don't have to, but this was a very direct indication that it worked on the tester tank with different water, and then it worked on the main
yeah, yeah.
system too. So I don't know.
And then the same, right now moving to this smaller facility, I'm learning new things too.
Yeah,
How to keep this smaller things, going.
yeah,
Because you used to, with the big system, close to 12,000 gallon, and then you're adding water 200 or 300 gallon a week
yeah.
just to top off.
Top off your water
And then
that you ship.
and then on top of it, you add on the RO waters too
Hmm.
to regulate your salinity.
Yeah,
And then it seems to be pretty stable,
yeah,
easy to
definitely.
do.
Yeah,
But with this, it just if you do not do the upkeep, they change really quick. Even just the daily evaporation itself,
hmm hmm
it's quite a bit.
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Well, maybe we'll just talk about your methodology and how you run your systems for a little bit, and I won't keep you forever here. But
yeah,
so you're down to, what did you say? You said you have 4 raceways now. So what's the sort of
yeah.
total water volume?
I have two systems of about 650 gallon,
Okay.
600 to
Yeah.
700 gallon total water volume.
Yeah.
And then I just use skimmer and calcium reactors,
Yeah. Okay.
pretty much that. And then I dose the Captive 8 cocktail.
Okay. So what is it?
Yeah,
The isolate MT?
the empty, and then they usually give you a formula based
Yeah.
on your ICT test. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So you can
yeah,
use, if the MT is a good base point, then you can add some of the other elements on top of that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So every month when you have a new ICP test, they give you a new formula
Yeah.
on what to mix for your the next 30 days
Yeah.
dosing until your next ICP. Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, it's a lot easier that way than mix, than just uh, dosing individual elements
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I've just started adjusting my bowling mixtures a little bit. So, like I use the Fauna Marine bowling light, but I've actually started putting
Hmm.
more fluoride in the alkalinity mixture, for example, because
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than having it on its own dosing head or dosing it manually, it gets along in that mixture ionically. It's the right one for the alkalinity, so I might as well just add it with the alkalinity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeps things easy.
True. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
then with
yeah,
with with Fauna Marine, I think they using sodium bicarbonate
it's
instead
most
of the
I believe
sodium
it's
carbonate.
I believe it's
Yeah.
mostly sodium bicarbonate. I think there might be a bit of of soda ash of carbonate in it, but I would be great if we could get confirmation on that because a lot of people are curious with the whole bolus thing and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that. But it's okay. It can be a mystery. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything
Yeah.
else like you employ in your systems? Would you say you do anything unique or different from from anyone? Any
Uh,
surprises or products you use?
no, pretty much. And then for the food, I make my own food.
Yeah.
It's been just a long time that I do it myself. I just buy those fresh eggs from the Asian groceries,
Yeah.
Pollock's eggs, and then I process it myself. Yeah, and
Okay.
then that's what I feed. Yeah,
So is it
pretty much.
mostly
And then
it's mostly like roe then, like or clam,
yep,
oyster
yep,
eggs, stuff
raw.
like that? Yeah.
No, just raw.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I would
just fish raw.
I would think that fish roe would have quite a bit of oil in them, like they'd be quite
Uh,
fatty. Would that be a problem? Because I've
that's
always
that's
made a mixture of different.
yeah, that's only if you use salmon eggs.
Okay.
Salmon eggs a lot of oil.
Yeah.
But if you use Pollock roe, the one that the Asian grocery, they have it pretty much Korean grocery. They
Okay.
have it.
Okay.
Uh, they are small eggs. They
Yeah.
comes in the sack itself.
Oh,
So
okay.
you just remove the sack, yeah, and then you just blend them.
Okay. Yeah,
Then
and you probably
become
just blend them lightly
become
so they don't get just completely turned to mush.
yep,
Like
yep,
just a
you
quick little.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. You cannot cook them. So what you do
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
short bursts until they and then they become puree.
Broken up. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah,
And actually, I probably should go to Chinatown to get some to shop for some of
yeah.
the things for my
Korean,
fish
yeah,
food.
Korean groceries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Korean grocery in the frozen refrigerators, and then find the they call it daegu eggs or
Okay.
Pollack's eggs. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what
Okay.
they make soup with that. It's still fresh, but it's frozen.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's good
Yeah,
to know. Yeah, good tip for sure. Yeah, I've always used just a
it
mixture of different seafoods, but I never put any roe in. So, maybe that's a good thing
yeah.
for people to look into.
And
Yeah.
then in Indonesia, we broadcast the shrimp eggs. So shrimp eggs puree. That's what we use
Yeah.
to target feed or just broadcast feed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then for lighting, are you kind of running LEDs mostly for everything or?
Mostly LED, and then it's a DIY.
Okay.
So yeah, I I use all my light is a DIY since long time ago.
Okay. So you putting your own diodes together for LEDs?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
Okay, that's kind of fun. I
So
don't remember if you sent me any pictures of the lighting setups or anything. It'd be kind of cool to
no,
see
no,
what you did though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
I, I
sorry, go ahet
yeah, just the lighting is DIY only. I use a brand name lights for go to the show because it's easier
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, but for grow out here in the facility, I'm just using DIY
Okay. Yeah. So what kind
because
of
I
par do you kind of pull out of these? Like, I mean, it depends on the system and what's in it, I guess. But what do you kind of?
no, but yeah, the way I design it is just if depending on what drivers I want to put in there.
Yeah.
If I put 500 milliamps, then probably you got 500. I mean, you got 400, so 300, and then you got 700 milliamps, then it will bump it up to probably 600. And then
Yeah.
if you use a thousand milliamp, then it will be like 1,000 bar
Wow.
in
Okay.
there.
So you can just
Yeah,
drive them harder and yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
the reason being is because the tank is big. I don't see any efficient lightings that will be able to use in a grow up facility. You
Hmm.
have to use a lot of them.
Yeah.
With this, for example, like an 8 foot, I use four 20 inches, uh, and then they are about 175 watt
Yeah.
each. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's a misconception because I think people think, back when LED lighting first kind of came on the market, people are like, oh, it's going to be so much more efficient and it's going to save us electrical costs. And yeah, sure, the heat generation is a little better than
yeah,
T5 and metal halide, but it's still like by the time you light a whole big, say, if it's a wide frag system or something,
yeah.
it's a lot of lights it takes to
It's a
fill
lot.
that
Yeah.
space.
See,
Yeah.
because the way they design the brand lighting, it's for aquarium use.
Yeah.
It if you have 4x8 or 3x8, something like that, it's not efficient anymore
Yeah.
because you have like Radeon, you probably need 8 of them
Yeah. Totally.
on the 4x8. Yeah, and it probably is not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. It gets really expensive. And yeah, no, I like, DIY. I think if you can do it right and if you can
Yeah,
heat
yeah.
sink it correctly, like cool them properly, and you're not overdriving them, I guess, too much, then you found they've lasted well for you and run
Yep.
long term.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you
Yeah.
have a problem, you built it, so you can probably fix it pretty easily
Yeah,
too.
if you use a proper diodes, then they last, pretty long. And then also, uh, you know, how much to drive it
Yeah.
for. If you try to overdrive it a lot, then of course it'll shorten the life. But you can just replace it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The diodes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then then that way also on the violet and the UV you can use a powerful like a 4-up diodes
Mm.
instead of just a single diodes,
Mm. Mm.
because a single one they are dim inherently, so if you use it then it hardly any benefits at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, most of them it's just for advertising only.
Yeah. Makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how expensive radions are now and how they're kind of the industry standard, I would say. And I mean, I use a lot of
Yeah.
them, but I can't imagine buying them retail price, say if you needed 5 or 6 XR30s,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're just like, oh, cool. Like, this is so much money.
Because it's a proven line. A lot
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
growers using it and then they are successful with it. So, it just, there's proof already it
yeah,
works. So
yeah.
people use it. Yeah,
It's true for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else you kind of, I don't know, would you say any products you really like? Like what salt brand have you kind of settled on as your kind of go-to?
It's an ocean.
Yeah. Okay. You're
Yeah,
another Instant Ocean guy. All
yeah,
right.
it's an ocean. You know why? Because it's a basic salt.
Yeah.
So when you're adding on anything else, it doesn't interfere with the
Mm,
chemical in it.
mm,
If you already have a good brand, there's so many chemicals in it already. Then you start dosing things, it might mess up
mm. That's a
your
good point.
concentration.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you have
yeah.
you have to be careful when the more expensive the salt is, the more add-on is in the salt itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
For
is
for
a,
me, I like to start with just basic.
yeah.
So that way anything I add on doesn't affect anything at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you
Because
make any modification? Because I do recall when I used to use Instant Ocean maybe like 7, 8 years ago. I think the calcium was pretty low when you mixed it. Like, I think I remember it being like 370 or something. So, I would always add, some calcium chloride before I did a water change. Do you just use it
yeah,
straight up?
what I do, uh, I sometimes mix it with Reef crystal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
if you do, yeah, you do 50-50 or you do 60-40,
Hmm.
something like that. But sometimes, you mix to probably 10-21 and then you do tests.
Yeah.
If you see something that you need to bump, then you add on reprisals to bump it on. And
Yeah.
pretty much, with my experience, that should do the trick already.
Yeah.
And then also people having problems with residue in their mixing tank.
Hmm.
Okay? The best way of doing it is using a felt socks.
Yeah.
Okay, you have your waters in the containers, and
Yeah.
then you have socks hanging,
Yeah.
maybe with PVC rod, and then you put salt in the felt
Okay.
in the filters.
Yeah.
So let it be, and then it will dissolve.
Yeah.
So undissolved, it stays in the felt,
Yeah.
and then your container will stay clear
Okay.
forever.
Okay. So just pour the salt into your mixing vessel into a filter sock.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good tip. Yeah, I think that would.
And then you
I'd
got
definitely try that.
you got either palm or power heads to circulate the water,
Yeah.
and then it will dilute it. The
Yeah.
one that the salt, it will dilute, and then your container stays clear.
Yeah. I guess
You,
my
you don't have any issue.
concern, maybe this doesn't matter, but would you think that adding a lot of salt at a time into that filter sock and it not getting just immediately blown around within that vessel might have a little more of a chance of some of those elements precipitating or competing, having them sit in that filter
Uh,
sock temporarily?
well, the thing about it is some salt, they always have some that doesn't mix, either precipitation
Yeah.
or some chemical that won't mix. And then with my experience with the socks, I don't have any issue at all with that. I've been doing it for many, many years.
Yeah.
It's probably 30 years.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's a good point. I think be curious people that are listening to this if anybody's tried it or interested in trying it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you use a finer salt like the aqua forest or red sea salt, then you might want to use a nylon socks.
Okay.
Because the felt socks might be
a little too restrictive.
It's too restrictive.
Yeah.
So the nylon sock is better for that type of salt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. So you were saying because you're using some of the Captivate stuff to keep your trace elements. Are you doing regular ICPs for that your system then? Or? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that who you do it through?
I do the ATI, but this time here I tried the fauna marine.
Yeah.
That I will send fauna marine. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, put me as an advisor. I'll see what you get there.
Oh.
I'm a consultant now, so
cool.
I'll take a look next time.
Yeah. It seems to be that it's more comprehensive on the. I mean, the way they lay out is just so much information.
Yeah.
In the fauna marine. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool that they've figured out a lot of ratios and the way that some elements interact. It's there's a lot of information there.
Yeah.
Once you've seen a few of them and you start to sort of like get a grasp over time of what to expect, it starts to become a little more digestible. But I do my best to explain it too.
Yeah. I used to use the Triton ICP.
Yeah.
But for certain elements they don't test it, so I don't know what the level is. That's why I move on.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing that I like about them is because they are here in the United States, so it's easier. Yeah. I always found them would open up a lab in the United States or Canada.
I think they might be. I think that might be kind of in the future. So we'll see. Because the main sort of North American distributor is in Canada. So, I don't know anything about it, but I have a feeling something's going to happen at some point, which would be nice. It'd be nice to have really fast turnaround, even if it was just you guys were sending from the U.S. to Canada. It'd be cutting down some time, right? Because it doesn't have to go to a hub and then go to Germany. So, yeah. So, as far as like your parameters, kind of what you shoot for, is it fairly standard? Is there anything I should say is outside of what people would expect, or?
No. You see, the thing of it is that, we are growing to sell these corals to go to a different aquarium.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go with the mainstream. So that way the corals will be readily, comfortable at customer's tank.
Totally.
If you do specific to your environment, then the corals might not be so hardy at all when the customers get it.
Yeah, I've kind of made that argument against metal halides too, in that, they grow acroporas really well, but not a lot of people are running halides. So selling corals that come from a system that's grown them in that way is maybe a little bit trickier for the end user to produce the exact same result.
With metal halide, it's just, I think, only in regards to growing. But as far as hardiness, it should be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But dosing something that is out of the ordinary in your tank, then the frags goes into a tank that's lacking, they might die.
Yeah.
That is more specific that I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally.
Because I know there's some grower that believe in doing certain things, dosing certain things, But with me, I just go with the mainstream.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. You want it to be like what you do to be an attainable, set of methodologies for the user, right? So don't do anything like, say you noticed, for example, that your corals did really well with super high, let's say potassium, because that's something that some people have done. I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
Say you brought your potassium up carefully to 600 and the corals look great. It's probably not responsible to sell those corals to a tank where the potassium's 4.
I just give you, example. I know people that dosing carbon dosings with racing fuel.
Oh, really? Racing fuel.
Yep. the racing fuel for the scale models car.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That
Holy.
Yep.
I mean, if it's a carbon source, it's probably just like a super high
It is the same.
output. Yeah.
It is the same. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It
Yeah.
it is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess it makes sense if alcohol is like a fuel, then you're just going with a higher end fuel.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
give me like your nutrient range that you would shoot for PO4 and NO3?
Yeah. For the nitrates, I like to keep it like 15, 20.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then sometimes I pushing it, a bit high to like 30. And then the phosphate is range about 0.06 to zero point 0.8.
Okay.
And then and then it's still like 0.1 still okay.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
about
I'm I'm not
0.1.
I'm not worried about 0.1 at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to be
Especially
quite accepted
yeah,
these days. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
especially in the smaller system, you tend to get a phosphate higher than in the larger system. Yeah, for some reason, the larger system can export it, or deal with it better than smaller system.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why that would be. It might be case by case, but um, maybe just skimmer sizing too. I don't know.
I,
Or
I think
yeah,
I think I think skimmer size. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Of
Interesting.
course, I have a 5 foot skimmer before.
Yeah, yeah. I bet you had some massive equipment. Yeah, that's crazy. So, you said calcium reactor was the main sort of provider of the major elements. Are you doing calc or
Yeah,
anything in addition to that, or just reactor?
I do calc in the evening,
Okay.
just to keep the pH, about around 8.
Yeah.
When they go deep, they're probably around 8.
Yeah.
So by morning, when the light is on, then they already take off from 8. So it's more likely they go to 8.3,
Yeah.
8.2, 8.3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
that
that's
way.
pretty good.
And
Yeah.
then the way I set up my light is always just hard on and hard off.
Yeah.
I don't do any ramping at all.
Yeah. Okay. It's
I
just
never
on.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So
it's
yeah.
always
Yeah.
yeah. Since I open up my facility, always hard on and hard off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never bought of ramping.
It's like the old school days, though. I mean, it used to be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I used to have combination of halides and T5s, and maybe the T5s would come on and then the halides would come on, but there was no ramping. It was always
yeah,
just, it was
yeah.
on or it was off. So,
Metal highlights still have some rampings,
yeah,
but
a little
probably
bit.
yeah, 5, 6 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say
Yeah.
yeah. And then for the tank environments, I think the only thing that will shock is the fish.
Yeah.
For the first for the first week, if you're doing it hard on and hard off, the fish probably will get spooky.
Yeah.
But past 1 week, they're already used to it.
Yeah, they get
They
used to
know.
it. It's just like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very loud alarm goes off every morning. Ah!
yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah. It's the same thing. Like you walk in the middle of the night and you turn on the lights,
Yeah.
and then it's the same thing too.
Yeah, yeah.
They just stand still.
Exactly. Yeah, they kind of go into a sleepy mode, even though they're not really. Well, wrasses actually kind of sleep. Wrasses if they're either in sand bed or they're in a coral or a little
Yeah.
nook or whatever.
The,
Yeah.
the one that's spooky is pretty much Antius.
Yeah.
So if you suddenly turn on the lights, then they can just shoot,
Yeah. They can jump.
in any direction.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
That one
Definitely.
there, and also the flashers.
Yeah.
The flashers, right? Yep.
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
say some of those wrasses, I just don't keep them anymore because my only tanks are frag systems, and just some of
Yeah.
those wrasses are just too jumpy. So
Yeah.
I've seen too many crispy ones on the floor, unfortunately, to keep
Yeah.
them anymore.
I don't use I
Yeah.
don't use RAS at all because they just upturn all the frags.
Yeah. Yeah. They can do
Yeah.
that for sure.
And then the way I populate the tank with fish, just pretty much all the worker fish, all
Yeah.
the Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. What would you say is your favorite like utility fish, like as far as like tangs or grazers that kind of do the best job of taking care of that stuff?
All the natural tanks, the shellfin tank,
Yeah.
and then the brown tank. The brown tank is ugly, but they're continuously eating.
Yeah.
And then also the Stenocus type tanks,
Which
the
kinds
one
of
that
what would be in
uh,
that category?
that it's like the mimic tank.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, the mimic tank, and then the stripe tank is the convict. Yeah,
Hmm.
the convict tank. Those are constantly grazing.
Yeah, they're good grazers.
They
Hey.
they they, they are non-stop. Except that the convict tank is difficult to keep
Yeah.
alive. Yeah, you have to keep trying until you get a few that will stay
Mm.
alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have
They
too
just
much
quick
experience
shipper.
with them.
Yeah, they just
Nasotangs.
quick shipper.
Nasotangs actually are the only tang I've ever found that eats that brown wafer algae. Do you know that wafer algae? I think it's referred to as. It's
Uh,
it's like a brown kind of. It almost makes like a sheet. It's like a papery sheet of brown.
oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
heard it called wafer algae, but nasotangs actually eat that, and I've never seen any other tang eat it. So, yeah,
yeah. The rabbit fish and the fox fish are good, but you have to be careful because they might develop liking to your mushrooms.
yeah,
They will they will decimate your mushroom in just one night.
interesting. Do they go
Yeah.
after? I think I've heard of fox faces or some kinds of rabbit fish pick at certain LPS too. They can acquire a taste.
Most of the fish they will start doing that if they see some algae.
Yeah.
They pick it. So they do not pick
Mm,
the LPS itself, they pick the algae
yeah.
that grows on the body itself and then just irritate the corals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unintentional. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Unintentional habits. Yeah.
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 But
Okay.
in general, that if there is other things that already in the tank that they can eat, that generally they don't bother other corals.
Yeah.
And then I hardly feed my fish also
Yeah.
because if I feed my fish, then they don't do
They don't
cleanup.
graze as much. Yeah. Okay.
No,
Yeah, that
no,
makes sense.
then don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to watch out, and then once in a while I give them a treat.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, maybe I'm overfeeding my fish with get them back to work on the boring. Eat salad today.
Yeah.
You can have
Yeah.
salad. Reef salad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question that I ask everybody. Is there
Yeah.
any change or product you started using where you can say for sure you saw like a significant benefit from it?
I think it's dosing elements.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Dosing elements make an impact into a system. It's definitely for sure.
yeah,
I haven't done it for when people start doing it, I just don't do it at all. I use the CCAM Reef Plus and Reef Trace.
hmm,
And the problem with Reef Plus and Reef Trace, you adding on without being able to control your individual elements,
yeah,
and then you might overdose on one element or two elements.
totally, yeah,
Uh, yeah, that's the issue. And then when I start doing the individual elements dosing, so you get the concentration properly and all that, then it helps. Yeah, especially on the goniopora and then on your uh, Euwphyllia.
yeah. Yeah, you
They
notice big
yeah
difference in
they
those. Yeah, because most
yeah
people are going to say they notice most of the difference with SPS, but you notice with Gonnies for sure. Hey, certain elements
yeah
are
yeah
super
yeah
critical.
you'll see accelerated growth
Yeah,
with most of the corals
yeah,
when you start dosing the elements
yeah, yeah,
there. And then
yeah,
I cannot pinpoint is it the elements or is it something else,
yeah,
But I think we try to provide the optimal
yeah, yeah.
condition, and then that's what it is. Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, as close to the ocean as we can get, right? Yeah, it's we do our best. Yeah,
yeah,
or try
yeah,
to do better if you can. It's hard to say we can do better, but maybe there might be some corals that grow faster in our tanks than they do in the wild. You would probably know.
yeah.
Do you think? Maybe zoanthids, maybe certain things like that might grow faster.
Uh, I think pretty much just the reef builders.
Yeah,
The reef builders they grow faster in the reef.
yeah. So you're
Yeah,
talking reef building
then
corals
it takes
being more reef
yeah
building corals are more like are you talking Acropora or is that more like
yeah,
yeah,
Acropora and all the Multipora and then
yeah,
all your Hynopora, all the pora
yeah,
thing. They are the one that build the reef
yeah,
itself.
yeah,
So they usually grow faster in the wild than in the tank.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
They
sense.
have abundant lights and then they have a proper, condition in the environment.
Yeah,
So of course, yeah,
yeah, for sure. Cool.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes you go certain area,
mhm.
and then your boat you have to just keep broken the Acropora because they just grow all the way up
Yeah, yeah, it's
the
crazy.
the surface.
Yeah,
So you cannot you have a small boats and then you try to pass by. You
yeah,
cannot do it except you have to broke them out.
yeah, crazy. So they'll
Yeah,
actually they'll well, I guess it depends on the time of day and where the tide is, but you'll actually be like, oh, like we came really close to
yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
So yeah,
Yeah,
certain certain area in the eastern Indonesia they're still that way.
yeah, wow,
So yeah, the growth is just crazy.
yeah,
You'll see that. You'll see a lot of Vincent picture.
hmm,
How big
yeah,
the colony.
totally,
Yeah,
totally, yeah,
it's
yeah.
immense.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Actually, I don't think I asked, but it would be nice to see some pictures of your farms or something too. So maybe I'll you have the farms that you are a part of have a website that I can link to or check out or
No, we don't. Yeah,
no?
we
Okay.
don't. But
Okay.
I can just probably send you some pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'll put
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
links you want in the description here. Is there anything else you want to mention for anything you have coming up, like any events you'll be at or sales or anything like that?
Uh, Not really, because right now, since the disaster that I have in January, so
Yeah.
I haven't been putting my website back on yet.
Yeah, so
I'm
you
still
lost a lot of
nourishing the
SPS. Yeah.
yeah. I'm nurturing back my corals, and then until I have I have enough frags to just put it up there, and I'll start.
Yeah.
But it won't be too long, Corals growing back really quick.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
good. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure you got lots of Coral Bank friends too that probably get you pieces back that you need, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. The one that helping me. A lot of friends that that we trade, and
Yeah.
then he still have like John Yule. He has a lot of my pieces.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you definitely hook you back up
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. That's it's always great, to have friends that you trade, and then you can count on getting it back. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we do. We pretty much we trade the frags because someday
Yeah.
we might need them back, or maybe they need them back,
Yeah.
from you
There's always,
someday.
I
Yeah,
mean, don't ever get too comfortable in this hobby. There's always going to be an up and a down, and you just got to go with it and have good people around, to
yeah,
help you out,
yeah.
pick you back up when
I
you're
think
down.
yeah, the one that we haven't discussed is pretty much is the misuse of CITES,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It is a misuse of CITES that lately happening. People using the CITES for re-export,
Yeah.
but
So
but
is this as far as changing, not sending the corals that are stated on the CITES?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The regulation that you can re-export corals what you import.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you substituting the content with something else, then it's not a re-export. It's a laundering
Mm, hmm.
activity. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So is this happening? I mean, I guess you don't want to call any
yeah.
specific
We
things
don't
out.
we don't have to call names, but
Yeah.
that's happening.
Yeah.
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 And then I think that's why we are in the hobby. We're taking it for granted. The corals, oh, it's available, it's stingrays and all that.
Hmm.
But we should take a time to understand the regulations.
Yeah.
So that way we can have a say on something, that, and then we do not promote them.
Yeah.
And we promote it, then something happened to them, it will affect us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like
Yeah.
for example, United States might ban the industry itself just
Yeah.
because of the act of one person or few persons.
Yeah. Like for
Yeah.
example, like the lionfish in the Caribbean issue has
Yep.
probably raised a little
Yep.
bit of
Yep.
attention, and that's indirectly sort of put a little bit of a spotlight on the reef hobby and the trading of
Yeah.
corals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Both
yeah.
the marine fish itself and then the coral itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important for people to realize to not take for granted what we do have right now and how it is actually
Yeah.
almost the best time that we may ever have to get corals right now.
Yeah.
It may only get worse
True.
from here, more difficult. So,
Yeah.
bank corals now, appreciate what we can get. And,
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, try to, I guess, like what you're saying is try to be aware of some of the conversations that are going on, you know, on some of these more legislative sides of things. And if there
yeah,
comes a
yeah,
time that you have to weigh in and you have to, you know, be a part of
yeah,
that
yeah,
conversation, I think it's important, like you say, to be a
yeah.
part of that. Yeah.
It's proactive. Knowing where your coral's coming from,
Yeah.
and then I think that's the most important things.
Yeah.
Because here in the United States, if you buy from a wholesalers, the law says that you can go to them and then say, show me the CITES that will these corals coming from. But it's never been exercised that way because people doesn't know.
Yeah.
By law, the wholesaler have to tell them,
Yeah.
have to show them proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Yeah, definitely things to keep in mind and look out for, and watch who you support. Make sure your wholesaler is legit and they're doing
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
legit.
You know, when
Yeah.
when I still actively importing corals and then selling it to wholesalers,
Hmm.
I have to sign uh, the affidavits that the corals I import,
Yeah.
it's legally imported.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all the wholesalers demanding that. And then now we don't hear that anymore
Yeah.
because again, people just forget about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. But the law never changed. It's still the same.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, cool. Well, this is a good note to leave
Okay.
on. So, yeah, be educated on where your corals come from. Hopefully, this episode shed some light on it. So, thanks for
Great.
taking the
Great.
time, Rudy. It was awesome talking
Thank
to
you,
you.
Adam.
Yeah,
My
okay.
pleasure.
We'll keep in touch, man. Thanks,
Okay.
man. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today with Rudy from Golden Basket Corals. Now, his website is temporarily on hold as he is restocking some of his corals, but you can be sure to check it out. Maybe by the time you watch this, who knows, it might be up. goldenbasketreef.com. And definitely say hi to him at one of the U.S. trade shows he's often attending, and tell him you enjoyed this episode. Just another shout out to our sponsor, Fauna Marine. They brought tons of amazing products to the market this year. Also, they now have a spectral analysis you can add as an add-on to your ICP analysis. If you have any suggestions for future guests, want to ask me a question, or just reach out in general, you can email me at beyondthereefpod@gmail.com. And if you're looking for high-quality aquacultured corals in Canada, please go to my website at fraggarage.ca. Hope to hear from you soon.